Hola mis amigas, welcome to my desk, which is a disaster right now, but don't worry, I will be cleaning it up for sure before I start NaNoWriMo. Speaking of which, it's only 3 days until NaNoWriMo starts. I'm like so excited. I have been spending the last month preparing for this exciting challenge of writing 50,000 words in 1 month, as you've seen throughout my different vlogs that I've done through October as I work on different aspects of the story. So I thought I would use this video as kind of the last of the countdown to NaNoWriMo and update you on a few tweaks that I made and also recap the things that I did for PrepTober. So the first thing that I did was I created just kind of the layout of my calendar and things like that in my happy notebook that I have. As you saw in the first video, well, not the first video, the first writing vlog video of my PrepTober NaNoWriMo 2020 vlogs. In the next video after that, you saw me working on creating the character arcs. So I did not actually end up filling out the rest of the acts sections for the character profiles that I came up with. As I think I mentioned in a brief blurb of text at the end of that video, I did end up writing out like the inciting incident, the misbelief, the fear of the different, main characters, central characters in the story on a separate piece of paper. In the future, I think it would work best for me not to put the Act 1, the Act 2, and the Act 3, or maybe just the Act 1, because that's the one that I filled out to kind of just help me get a feel for where things start off, and instead leave room for me to write that stuff, the misbelief, the fear, the dark moment, the victory, those types of things on the character profile so that I have it right there. So overall though, I did enjoy doing, having the backstory and the, physical description, all that right there. I did like how that turned out. So the next video that I did after that was about my scene cards. So you can actually see a little bit of my scene card setup behind me, just the bottom part of it, and that worked really well. As you know, I transferred that into an outline in a Word document on my computer, and I actually printed that outline out onto paper. I sized the document so that it would be able to be cut out and then glued onto my Happy Notes paper. I actually found some Happy Notes paper on clearance at Mardel Christian stores, and it had both lined paper for notes, which I had been wanting. I haven't used it yet, but I imagine I will, and also some graph paper, and I forgot on a couple pages to use that graph paper to tape my pages over because I might not have a very good use for that graph paper otherwise, so I might as well just use it to be the paper that I tape or glue my outline pages over, because as I mentioned, I prefer having the outline separate so that I can look at it outside of my computer screen, because I just don't think I would like having 2 Word documents open at once and be trying to reference one and do another all just on my Mac laptop. So there's that. So that was where I kind of left off and was concluding my videos. That's where we are now. You may remember that I did mention that I was planning to do a video specifically about how I world built for my story. Now, the reason that I didn't end up doing that is because I didn't end up world building in the same way that I kind of thought I would. I tried some things, but not all of them worked great, and I still haven't completely found a method that I liked. But part of what I discovered is that I kind of world built as I created the history, partly. I did create 2 pages in my Happy Notes, one for one group of people and another for a central town in the story, with the histories of the towns, kind of the central icons that they use a lot, like say, stars or whatnot in their clothing and all that stuff, and main colors, important accessories, more kind of clothing related stuff. I did create kind of an aesthetic board on my computer with images from Pinterest or from the Pinterest board that I created for kind of helping me world build. And I actually didn't end up printing that off and putting it in my happy notes because I'm just like, why would I do that when I can just use the Pinterest board? I did print off that page just in case, I wanted to do a separate video on how I did the page setup and all that, but I didn't end up really liking it. And also, even though I did write out the history of, the one group of people and the central town, it didn't really go back far enough. I have this problem whenever I'm writing a story that's not in the real world of having my worlds not have a history that goes back far enough and also not really being big enough. Now, the size of the area will probably be an issue that I more fix if I end up going into sequels or anything like that, because then you kind of show more of the world, but it's just something that I'm kind of still working on. How do you build a world and make it feel like a world and not a little area? So I did go back and add goal dates to my NaNoWriMo calendar, and unfortunately, kind of right around those pages, on one of my PrepTober checklist pages, I accidentally spilled ink from one of my lettering markers. I don't know if it was because I'd been like twirling it around on my finger and then I dropped it or what, but it had a bunch of ink rush to one end, which I've never had this happen before, and it blotched ink all over the paper, which no amount of whiteout can completely fix that. So I was really bummed about that, because it messes up my perfect, nice, pretty pages, but at least it wasn't on the NaNoWriMo spread. So I have pretty much all of my PrepTober checklist done. I have not quite finished all of the things that I wanted to get done before NaNoWriMo. I do have a few days left in the week, so I am going to try to get as many of those done as I can. I don't know that I will be able to get all of them done, which is okay. I'm at least close on some of them. And, the thing is, there are going to be things that I have to keep up with during NaNoWriMo. I can't literally have everything done and then do nothing during the month of NaNoWriMo. That's not realistic. So I basically have completed everything except I just didn't finish the character profiles, which is okay, because I ended up just, keeping track of their story beats with the scene cards in another way. And I haven't quite figured out how I want to go about keeping track of world building information yet. So other than that, all of my PrepTober stuff I have really enjoyed. I feel like it's been a success. I actually had like an entire week of like lull time where basically the only thing I really needed to do was kind of review my outline and print it off, and then I was just waiting for a few days, kind of waiting for NaNoWriMo to come. I should mention that I did figure out how I want to keep track of the story snippets, which are just, the bits of dialogue and narrative that I have written in different places and I didn't know what to do with them. So I ended up deciding to go ahead and type them into my outline in the corresponding places so that I wouldn't have pieces of my story in multiple places while I'm trying to type, because then inevitably I'd forget something or I'd have to go back and find it. That would take some of my time. So I went ahead and just put them into my outline, and I did color code as many as I could as made sense, the story snippets with a specific highlighter color in the Word document, so that way I could see like, okay, here, we're coming up on an area where I already have something written. Maybe I could, review it and see, do I want to keep it? Do I want to adjust it? Do I just want to type it in there like it is? I could even go into the outline document and just copy paste. So I like how that turned out. But obviously the ultimate test is going to be, does any of this work when I actually go to write the story? So that's what we're heading into. And I am super excited. NaNoWriMo's almost here. We're only 3 days away. And another thing to be looking out for is I am planning on doing some live writing sprints during NaNoWriMo. I've never done live writing sprints before, and I just thought, it's a thing. It's a fun way to connect with fellow writers. I'll probably be doing them mostly on Sundays, and I'm also planning on doing them over on Instagram. So make sure you go follow me on Instagram, because if I do live writing sprints, they're going to show up on Instagram. So I look forward to seeing you all during NaNoWriMo. I hope your projects are going great. Do tell me about them down in the comments if you'd like. And I will see you next week for the first NaNoWriMo check-in vlog. So have fun writing your stories. Get out there and write the stories that God created you to write. And ladies and gentlemen, start your pens, pencils, and word processors.